Hello, we are finally moving past Unit 6 and we're going on to Unit 7, and this unit is about angles, triangles, and prisms. Today we're going to start with vocabulary words, and it would be a good idea for you to write these down because there's going to be a lot of them, and this will be really helpful throughout the week so that we can become familiar with these terms. So pause it if you need to go grab something to write with. All right, the first one we're going to do is hopefully a review question or a review one. It's acute angles. So an acute angle is an angle that's less than 90 degrees. So as you can see from some of the examples that I have on here, 53 degrees, 30, 75, 45, 10, 85.5. Anything that's smaller than 90 degrees is an acute angle. And a lot of people say that because little things are cute. And so that's one way to remember it. So we're just kind of thinking here, we would write it as a sort of math inequality here. So whatever that angle is, so that 53 degrees less than 90 degrees could go here. All right, next one is an obtuse angle. And again, this should hopefully be review. Obtuse angles are angles larger than 90 degrees, angles greater than 90 degrees. So again, here we have our math inequality. So whatever angle we're deciding it is, it has to be greater than, there's the sign, 90 degrees. So all of these angles here are bigger than 90. So 116, 112, 168, 94, 105, all of those are big. So, and the next one is a right angle. Hopefully this is also a review. This is an angle that is exactly 90 degrees. So the angle would be 90 degrees is equal to 90 degrees. And one way you should hopefully know it's represented is showing this square here on the angle. You can write 90 degrees, but also you will see the symbol of just the square on the angle, and that means 90 degrees. All right, so now going on to a new one, possibly, is a straight angle. And a straight angle is hopefully very easy because it is a straight line. So a straight line is an angle equal to 180 degrees. And hopefully you know that sort of idea with turning. Then we talk about like skateboarding tricks and snowboarding tricks and that sort of thing. They'll talk about doing a 180. So hopefully you might know that just doing that one turn is 180 degrees. And so all straight lines are 180 degree angles. Okay, now a new term probably is congruent angles. The word congruent means equal to or the same. And so two angles that have the same measure. So here obviously is angle G is 42 and angle S is 42. So we would say angle G and S are congruent angles. And here down here I show you it as a math equation. You will also see a different symbol here with a little squiggle or tilde above it as well. And so then if we look at this angle and we saw angle ABC was 53 degrees, and we were told that these two angles were congruent angles, PQR, that angle, would also be 53 degrees. Congruent means the same. They had to have the exact same measure. All right, next one is adjacent angles. And if you know what the word adjacent means means next to. So if somebody's next to you, you could say they are adjacent to you. And so that simply means that they're two angles that are next to each other. And so sort of the technical term is two angles that share a side. So here you can see this angle ABC, is adjacent to, is next to angle CBD. Or as you can see over here, they wrote it a different way. They said DBC. And again, it doesn't matter which way you would say it. And so if we look sort of at a problem here, The question is, which angles are adjacent to each other? And there's a lot to choose from on here. So you could say, pick any two numbers that are next to each other. So we could go ahead and say angle 1 and angle 2, they're next to each other. So those would be adjacent angles. We could also say angles 2 and 3 are adjacent because they're next to each other. Okay. Over here at this intersection, we could say angle 7 and 8 are adjacent angles because they're next to each other. Over here, we could not say 11 and 9 are adjacent because they're across from each other. They are not next to each other, so they have to be right next to each other. So like this one here, 9 and 12, they're next to each other. All right, a few more to go. We have complementary angles. Complementary, it doesn't mean a compliment, like you're telling somebody they look nice that day. That's spelled a little differently. So if it was that word, this would be an I instead of an E in the middle here. So complementary angles means when you have two angles that add up to 90 degrees. So in this example, we can see this angle here is 40 degrees, and then this angle here is 50 degrees. And so if you add 40 plus 50 together, you get 90 degrees. So you would say these two angles are complementary angles because when you add them up, they're 90 degrees. And they don't have to be right next to each other. They don't have to be adjacent angles. So if you had these two angles over here, we would say, oh, if I know that the angle LKJ is 34, and you were then told that these two angles are complementary angles, you could write out a math problem like this. 34 plus that angle is equal to 90 degrees. So then you could, of course, then solve for that. So then obviously you just do 90 minus the 34 to get 56. So then you'd find out that that angle is 56 degrees. So that's one way that we can figure out. If we know what type of angles they are, we can then figure out their measure, the number that they are. And you want to keep complementary angles different than the other one, which is supplementary angles. Supplementary angles are two angles that add up to 180 degrees, so they make a straight line. So if you have this example here, we have this angle here is 120 degrees, and then this angle here is 60 degrees. Now if you added 120 plus 60, you get 180. So they are supplementary angles because if you add up the numbers, they make 180 degrees. So if you're given a problem that looks like this one over here, and you were told that these two angles were supplementary angles, you would know that this angle plus this 118 angles would be equal to 180. So again, you could set it up like a math problem here I have down at the bottom. So that first angle plus 118 is equal to 180. So again, you would just do 180 minus 118. Just do a one-step equation to be able to solve that, to figure out that angle. So one way I keep kind of in my mind, and you just have to think of something that makes sense for you, but complementary, again, adds up to 90 degrees. And in my head, I think C comes first in the alphabet. 90, the number 90 is smaller. And supplementary angle starts with an S, and that's later in the alphabet, and it's a bigger number, 180. So again, you just have to somehow remember those terms, what they mean. The last one we're doing today is a vertical angles. So these are two angles that are opposite from each other that share a vertex and are equal. And so this is just like you see in this example, they're across from each other. So this angle here, AED, it's 126 degrees, and the one directly across from it, CEB, is also 126. Okay, and then the opposite ones here as well. So angle AEC is 54 degrees, and then angle DEB is 54 degrees as well. So those are just always equal to each other. So again, you could be given a problem that looks like this, and if you're told that those are vertical angles, which they are, you know that x would be 65 degrees as well. So a lot of terms to kind of make sure you understand and know and go over. So you're going to go ahead and now do some practice to see if you remember these words, and feel free to watch the video again or just practice with the different vocabulary words or look over your notes, because these are important words to know moving forward. So you want to make sure you learn them very well. So you should be spending some time going over these notes now. Okay? Thanks.